Everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday, the 10th of December 2024 regular monthly council meeting. I'd like to thank all my fellow councillors for coming into chambers tonight. So we won't be doing it online. That's great. I'd like to thank my council officers and CEO coming in, and I'd like to thank all of you that are watching out there and to our meeting tonight. I'll call on each councillor to confirm verbally that they can see and hear the proceedings. Councillor Barini.
I can hear the proceedings and see all councillors and council officers.
Thank you. Councillor Clark.
I can hear the proceedings and see all councillors and council officers.
Councillor Tian.
I can see all council officers and hear the proceedings.
And Councillor Treasure.
I can hear the proceedings and see all councillors and council officers.
And I can hear the proceedings and see all councillors, council officers. I'll ask each councillor in turn to raise their hand that they could hear and see each other. Thank you. It's a process we have to go through, councillors, because we're still online, so my apologies. Apologies, Madam CEO, no apologies. Statement of commitment. As councillors of the Mansfield Shire, we are committed to ensuring our behaviour meets the standards set by the model councillor code of conduct. We will at all times faithfully represent and uphold the trust placed in us by the community. Could I ask each councillor to confirm their commitment? Councillor Barini.
I confirm my commitment.
Councillor Clark.
I confirm my commitment.
Councillor T.
I confirm my commitment.
Councillor Treasure.
I confirm my commitment.
And I confirm my commitment. Thank you. Acknowledgement of country by the Deputy Mayor.
That's certainly, Mr. Mayor. Our meeting has been held on the traditional lands of the Taungurung people. We wish to acknowledge them as the traditional custodians and pay our respects to their elders past and present. We extend that respect to all members of our community.
Thank you. Disclosures of conflicts of interest, councillor. I'll ask each councillor. Councillor Barini.
No conflicts of interest.
Councillor Clark.
I have no conflicts of interest in relation to this agenda.
Councillor Tian.
I have no conflicts of interest tonight, Mr. Mayor.
And Councillor Treasure.
No conflict of interest tonight.
And I declare no conflict of interest on any agenda item tonight either. Confirmation of minutes, councillors. Councillor Treasure.
I'll move the minutes as true and correct.
You have
Mr.
to
Mayor.
read it out.
Right. That the minutes of the Mansfield Shire Council meeting held on the 26th of November 2024 be confirmed as an accurate record.
Thank you. I have a seconder, Councillor Tian. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Notices of motion, there are nil. The Mayor's report, item 10, I'll take that as read. Are there any questions or comments, councillors? And there is a recommendation before you. Councillor Tian.
The council receives the Mayor's report for the period 27th of November 2024 to the 4th of December 2024.
Thank you. Any seconds?
I'll second.
Councillor Treasure. All those in favour of the minutes? That,
Seems very short.
We just look
period,
confused.
Mr. Mayor.
it is a very short
The
period.
27th of November to the 4th of December, is that right? Just confirmation of that date?
Well, it would have been after the last meeting.
After the last meeting
Yeah.
Until-
Because we're meeting a bit earlier this month. Because of
and late
Christmas.
last month.
But why only till the 4th?
Because it was prepared on the.
Okay, so,
On
yep,
the fourth.
all right. Good.
Then it was distributed and when the report was finalised.
So I'll just
Geez, you fitted a lot in a very short period of
I
time, Mr. Mayor.
did,
well done.
councillor.
That's
I'm
my comment to the motion.
very, yeah, I can keep it for 3 minutes. Councillors, I'll have another vote on that just to make sure that we're voting. All those in favour? And the motion is carried. Thank you. Item 11, which is the report from council appointed representatives. The Australia Day Awards Committee met on Friday, the 29th of November, and there is a recommendation in tonight's confidential agenda on that meeting. Goulburn Murray Climate Alliance, Councillor Breen.
Yet to meet. With
Okay.
that committee.
Hume Regional Local Government Network has not met. The Mansfield Shire Council Ordinance Risk Committee, Councillor Treasure.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a short report for the meeting yesterday. I'd just like to note some of the outcomes of yesterday's audit and risk meeting. Among the attendees were Brad Eade from the AFS and Associates, who conducted an internal audit of the Mansfield Shire's processes, including OH&S, Wellbeing and Human Resource Management. Lee Blaschke from the Auditor General's Office was also in attendance. He was involved in the external audit of our annual financial statements. The feedback from both audits was overwhelmingly positive. The council policies and procedures are sound, and there is a commitment demonstrated to following these policies and procedures. So I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate all the staff involved on a job well done. As a result, to a credit to all. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Treasure. The Mansfield Shire CEO Employment Matters Committee met on the 28th of November and again today on the 10th of December in Chambers to review the terms of reference and policy. The next meeting will be the 21st of January. Municipal Association of Victoria has not met. The North East Local Government Waste and Recovery Forum, Councillor Breeding.
I can report that we met. It was a fairly brief procedural meeting, but I was elected unopposed as chairperson of that. So excited to get stuck into those. We'll meet again in March. It's the next meeting.
Thank you. Rural Councils of Victoria, Councillor Tim. Has not met.
No, it hasn't met.
Tangerong Local Government Forum has not met. So recommendation before you, councillors. Councillor Clark.
I'd like to move the motion that council note the verbal reports provided by councillors in relation to their representation on external committees.
Thank you. And a second,
I'll second
Councillor
that.
Treasure. Any dissent? All those in favour of the motion? Motion is carried. Public question time, item 12. There are no questions. Item 13.1 is the Chief Executive Officer's report. Responsible officer is our Chief Executive Officer. How about that? We'll take that as read, councillors, and have you got any questions or comments on that report? Councillor Kane?
Yep, I've got a couple. Mr. Mayor, thanks. Madam CEO, the reports in your report numbers, building services and regulatory services, there's no report available due to testing of the new green light system. Can you just give us a little bit of detail as to what that is for anyone who might be listening, and where it's at, and when we're likely to see a future report?
Definitely, through you, Mr. Mayor. That is part of the planning, building and regulatory services upgrade to all of the systems in those areas that is being rolled out through Project Cody. And Project Cody is our collaborative digital project that we're running with 3 other shires. The planning system has already gone live, and the building system and the regulatory services are currently in the test environment. Because of that, we've had staff allocated to testing those. So because they're in transition, they weren't able to produce the reports this time, but it will definitely come to your February meeting, and hopefully in the new system. So, yeah, all
So
going well.
So it is going well.
Yeah, it is going well. Yeah, going really well.
Very good, thanks. Just on page 20, of your report, so I'll get that up, see oh, yes, that's right. So the diversion, average landfill diversion rate for the financial year to date sits at 40.76, which I think is really good, and we're starting to build up a picture of that after 5 months of figures. Has that exceeded expectations? Because I think when we headed towards the FOGO, we were hoping for 27% diversion rate. Correct me if I'm wrong. So
no, actually, look, I think
or was it
we
around the
that's
40?
that's what it was at the time, the 27%. But we're actually we're really pleased with the level of take up from the community on and how quickly that's increasing. Because looking at experience from other councils, once FOGO is introduced, you can get a much higher diversion rate, and certainly other councils that have had FOGO and the green bin introduced for a much longer period have had a much higher diversion rate now. But that's really pleasing after 5 months to see that level of increase is really, really great work from our community.
So what sort of diversion rate of councils that have been in it for a long time experiencing?
I think maybe somewhere around 60%.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. But it depends on the length of the period they've been for the services.
Yep. Okay. Onwards and upwards. That's good. And just page 25, the rate arrears, there seems to be a trend which is not the way we'd like to be seeing, well, not the way I'd like to be seeing it in terms of our year-to-date percentages. When you look at that chart below, it's going the wrong way. Do we have an explanation to that and what we might be doing to try and address?
Yep. Three, Mr. Mayor, we're already putting a lot of time into addressing that through our finance and rates team. There was a bit of a, I guess you could say, a change of approach during COVID to a follow-up for rates arrears. And also then there's been new state government legislation that came in after that time that extended the time after which someone breached their payment plan before you could actually take further action. So that extended it to 2 years. So that has been the main two impacts on that trend. It's still not, it's not something that we, put it the other way, we are actively managing it. So we are actively following up those ratepayers that are in arrears, and it's been very actively managed through the credit, mid-state credit. So they will be followed up individually, have already been, and we have seen some recovery from people who have perhaps inadvertently missed paying their rates. So that has been pleasing to see. That's been quite a significant number that's been rolling in over the last few months. But there is a backlog there that goes back a number of years to those changes post-COVID. So, and unfortunately, because of the new state legislation and that delay, it does allow the balances to increase a lot, which I think is not a positive thing.
Right, thanks. Let's
just on that, Madam CEO, is a section 183 by memory, is that correct, that we can confiscate land or buildings and sell to recover very long held debt? Is that correct?
Yeah, there is a provision in the Act, that's section 181, and there is a process that council can use to sell land if it reaches a stage where you've exhausted all other avenues to try and recover those arrears.
Yeah.
So ultimately, you know, there may be some of these properties that go that way, but we definitely try hard to make sure that everyone is given the opportunity to pay their rates bill.
Sure. I have a question. If you could just update us on the LED street lighting program. It's I see that the contract door has been awarded. So will residents and ratepayers see some action on that shortly?
Yes, I would expect so. I don't have a sort of an update on that project to hand, but it's the next stage of one that we've run successfully over the last couple of years. So if you would have it, no, our acting general manager doesn't, but yeah, it's been a really good rollout, and we're looking forward to having that one completed as part of our climate action plan.
Yeah, good. Are there any more questions, councillors? Okay, so as a recommendation, look at page. Councillor Clark.
I'd like to move a motion that council receive and note the Chief Executive Officer's report for the period 1st November 2024 to the 30th of November.
Councillor Bruni,
I'll second that.
thank you. Any dissent, and put that motion to a vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Item 13.2.1, this agenda item has been withdrawn by the applicants. Therefore, 13.2.1 is no longer required. And shall we go on to item 13.2.2, which is the Station Precinct Museum Community Asset Committee, and the purpose to seek council endorsement for the proposed Station Precinct Museum Complex Community Asset Committee membership, committee terms and references, and a delegation. Sorry, the instrument of delegation. Pardon me. So over to you, councillors, for any questions or comments on that. In that case, has someone got a recommendation? Councillor Tim?
Yeah, I'd like to move a motion, Mr. Mayor, which is along the lines of wasn't along the lines of the recommendation, because there's choice in the recommendation. So I'd like to move a motion that council appoints the mayor as chair of the Station Precinct Museum Complex Community Asset Committee, and 2, appoints CEO Kirsten Alexander as the other Mansfield Shire Council representative. And point 3, appoints the following community members to the Museum Complex Community Asset Committee for a term of 2 years. 1, Mr. Will Twycross, and 2, Mr. Michael Whitecross. Point 4, does not include an additional representative from the Mansfield Historical Society. And 5, endorses the committee terms of reference and instrument of delegation, and authorises the CEO to make administrative changes to reflect the above.
Okay, I think I've written that down exactly how you said it. Have we got a seconder for the motion?
Yep.
Treasurer. Have we got anyone who wants to speak against that motion? Have we got anyone that wants to speak for the motion, which would be the mover of the motion?
You'll get the hang of this
I
eventually.
am getting the hang of it.
I'm
looking forward to going.
a long break, that one, wasn't it? Oh, look, only to say that, yeah, I think it's great that this Station Precinct Committee is finally up and running, and we're really looking forward to having a committed group who really guide the development of this precinct, given that we've now had a big grant which will strengthen that whole area. And I'd like to thank everyone who put their name up for this committee, look forward to working with them in the future. Thanks.
Okay, the seconder of the motion, do you want to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Does anyone else want to speak to the motion? In that case, I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour of that motion? And the motion is carried. Item 13.2.3 is the Municipal Emergency Management Plan, and the responsible officer is the Emergency Management Officer, Tamara Watson. Welcome, Ms. Watson.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Item 13.2.3.
Yep.
Councillors, have you got any questions for the responsible officer? Council team.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Watson, welcome, and big report, 150 pages. Lots of changes, lots and lots of changes. Could you just, for my benefit, outline the three most major changes to this?
I've got a whole couple of pages.
Just the three most important.
Three major ones are more about updating, so changes to agency, because this is a multi-agency document. It's not just a council document. So, you know, DELP have changed to DECA, ERV, which is Emergency Recovery Victoria, now have come into play, and they weren't in the previous one. The changes to Mount Buller, Mount Sterling, RMB to now ARV, Mount Buller, Mount Sterling, our relationship with them, how we connect with them through the Integrated Fire Management Plan and their Emergency Planning Committee, which they've just had a meeting last week about more operational focus at that local level, whereas their MEMC sits across all of their resorts as one. So that's a big change for them. That's just come into play. Review of our stats data, population growth, median age, languages spoken, like putting that to more consideration as we grow in our population and that sort of thing. And more so about a review of our emergency relief centres. So where they are, how functional they are, fit for purpose. We've also included some like shower and power sites for like when we have those sorts of things happen again, we've got a list of sites and building on those sites as well. So that's kind of it in a summary. Yeah.
Can I ask another question? So for the council itself, has there been any significant changes how we are going to react to any major disasters?
No, ours is,
or
yeah,
services we might apply?
No. So we are like a support agency. So we have the agencies that are in charge of incidences like the CFA, DECA, SES and VicPol, and we sit underneath and support them. So they ring us when needed, and our function, like those sorts of the protocols around that hasn't changed. Our support requirements haven't changed. So it's more so how our plan is and how is it fit for purpose? Is it, yeah, the changes that I've just said, how they are implemented into the new plan. Yeah.
Very good. Yep,
Yeah.
Thank you.
One. Any other questions, councillors? Then we do have a recommendation on page 24.
Councillor Mayor, I recommend that council endorses the Mansfield Municipal Emergency Management Plan 2024 to 27 for the approval by the Regional Emergency Management Committee.
Thank you. Councillor Breen. Councillors, is there anyone want to speak against that motion or dissent? Case, do you want to speak to the motion?
I think he's there.
Okay, we'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour of the motion? Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Watson.
Not a problem.
Short and sweet and
Yep.
easy.
Thank you.
Done. Thanks for coming in. Item 13.3.1 is the Outlying Community Infrastructure Fund, and the responsible officer is Community Networks and Wellbeing Officer Alex Neens, but I'm assuming she's going to be coming in. Nola, oh yeah, okay.
Figured to take any questions through Mr. Mayor, if there's any questions while we're waiting for Nolan.
I think she's. Welcome, Ms. Cleland. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Let's see.
for coming in. Councillors, are you any questions for item 13.3.1? No? Okay. There's a recommendation on item. Councillor Teague.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation on page 31, except I'd like to exclude point 3, which is the Delatite Valley Association Inc. for 20,640 to complete the Merridgee River crossing and the public park feasibility study.
Okay. Have I got a second to that motion? Councillor Treasurer had a hand up.
Yes.
Just before you, so. Thank you. Would you like to speak to that motion, councillor Teague?
Yeah, I would. And there's a reason why I've obviously not supporting at this stage the proposal to give the Delatite Valley Association 20,640 for a feasibility study, mainly because I am very dubious as to whether it fits into the criteria of the fund that was designed to give small communities money for infrastructure. This is actually for a feasibility study, and I haven't seen enough of the detail in this proposal to delay any fears that I might have that it mightn't be being used in the wrong manner. I'd like to see some more detailed plans of the proposed bridge across the Delatite River and the community park. I also note that there's a Delatite Valley plan that we're doing at the moment, and wondering whether some of these two proposals can't fit into the Delatite Valley plan as well. But I'll be very happy for officers to bring back some information on the on this feasibility study and the way it fits into the guidelines for the community infrastructure plan. But other than that, I think the other proposals are very good, and we look forward to them getting up, and look forward to this proposal coming back to us at a later date. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Treasurer, you second the motion. Do you want to speak to it?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Other councillors, does anyone want to speak to that motion? Does anyone want to speak against the motion? Okay, I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour of the motion? Motion is carried. Item 13.4.1, the acting chief executive officer arrangements, and I'll read out the purpose. And the responsible officer is Governance and Risk Officer Ms. Young. Welcome. And the purpose is to seek council endorsement to appoint an acting CEO, from the 11th of December 2024 to the 14th of January 2025. And the reason for this is the Local Government Act 2020 states that the CEO is unable to appoint an acting CEO for a period longer than 28 days. So as such, council is required to make the appointment for any period exceeding this limit. So, councillors, have you got any questions to Ms. Young on this agenda item? In that case, we have a motion, a recommendation before you.
Yep, I'll move motion
Councillor Brini.
to recommend that council appoint Nola Cleland as acting CEO from 11 December 2024 to 17 December 2024. Melissa Crane as acting CEO from 18 December 2024 to 5th of January 2025. And Janique Snyder as acting CEO from 6th of January to 14th of January 2025.
Thank you. Have I got a second to the motion, Councillor Clark? Councillor Brini, do you want to speak to the motion?
Only that I hope the CEO enjoys their break, well deserved, and see you when you're back.
Thank you. Councillor Clark, do you want to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
Any other councillor want to speak to the motion? Have we got any dissent on the motion? As I put the motion to the vote, all those in favour? Motion is carried. Enjoy your holiday, Madam CEO. Item 14, council meeting resolution actions station. Action status register. I've got a recommendation before us, councillors. Matt, got no. Councillor Tian,
Yeah, I can move that council receive and note the Mansfield Shire Council meeting resolutions action status registers at 3rd of December 2024.
thank you, councillor Clark, second. Anyone want to speak against that? The motion to a vote, all those in favour of that motion? Motion is carried. Yeah. Item 15, nil, item 16, nil. Item 17, closure of meeting to the members of the public. So there's a recommendation on that. Councillor Clark,
Yep, and I'd like to move that council close the meeting to members of the public under section 66(2)(a) of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider confidential reports in accordance with section 66(2)(a)(2) of the Local Government Act 2020 for reasons set out in section 18 below.
thank you. Seconder, councillor Treasure. All those in favour? Thank you. That motion is carried. We'll be back shortly.
Breakout room.
Yeah, it'll just pop up and you join.
Breakouts. Welcome back, everybody. While we were in the closed meeting, we resolved to award a tender to Wangaratta Excavations for the total amount of $431,081.50 ex GST with a 10% construction contingency. We awarded that contract for the Rose Street drainage works, so that's a good outcome. We also awarded an arborist services panel, and that will it's too much to read here, but basically it's a non-exclusive contract to contractors for the purposes of forming a panel to provide arborist and tree services. So that will be part of our agenda report that will be out to you shortly, or the minutes of the meeting. I'd like to close the meeting, councillors and public. I'd like to thank all councillors and staff for their efforts during 2024. I'd wish all Shire residents and ratepayers a very Merry Christmas and a safe and a happy New Year. Please remain respectful to one another and be patient on our roads. It'll be a busy Christmas, I'm sure. So good evening, everybody, and thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.